It's Friday, March 26th, 2021. Yesterday was the March Cardano 360. We now know when we're going to have smart contracts. Get ready. Let's go. Well. We now know a lot more about the timeline for smart contracts in Cardano than we knew 24 hours ago. The Cardano 360 stream, where all this was revealed, was something like 3 hours and 22 minutes. And I could easily, even just trying to summarize it, I could easily talk for a couple hours. But we all know you're a bunch of Cardano people and it's Friday. You don't have time for any of that. That's because on a Friday, if you're a Cardano person, it's like you probably have the opposite sex crawling all over you. You don't got time to be talking about 2-hour videos about Cardano. So instead, we're going to try to do this fast. I'm going to move really quickly through the topics. But if you have any questions, like always, just hit me up in the comments below. And I'm probably going to use, there's a lot of technical nomenclature that came up today during the stream, and everybody who's been in Cardano a while, we probably all know most of these acronyms, but if you hear something you don't know what it means, feel free to hit me up in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer those questions. Also, a lot of people have been making comments on the Reddit threads, there have been these comments that are like, this is awesome, throw this guy some ADA, that kind of stuff. That is not necessary. The most valuable thing you could do, if you like the Reddit threads or if you like these videos, the most valuable thing you could do would be to subscribe to these videos and like the videos, leave comments below, right? Comments are especially awesome because then we can have a little discourse about all the stuff going on in Cardano. It's fun for me. I hope it's fun for you guys too. But if you want to do something that'd be valuable for these Reddit threads and for these videos going forward, I would say do those things. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, like the videos, and leave comments below, especially comments. That's really fun. So do those things if you can. But with that, I think it's time for us to get going here. So the big news first. It sounds like the Alonzo testnet. Alonzo is smart contracts, you already know. The Alonzo testnet, so the testnet for smart contracts, will launch around the end of April or early May. It's looking like the Alonzo hard fork combinator event on mainnet will happen late July or August. So what's going on is they're going to have a testnet up in about a month, right? A month or a month plus, something like that. They're going to have a testnet up. Then they're going to be done with all the coding. They're going to have a code freeze / feature freeze at the end of June. Then it takes at least 4 weeks for IOHK to help Coinbase and Kraken and Binance and all the exchanges update their platforms to accommodate the changes in the Cardano code. So we're looking at July or August. It sounds like IOHK is really going to be done. They're projecting. These are projected rough dates. I don't think these are deadlines. These are projected rough dates. They're projecting that they'll be done late June. Then by late July or August, something like that, we should be good to go and we'll have smart contracts on mainnet. So that's the big news we've all been waiting for. What's the projected date for smart contracts? There you have it. Late July or August. And Charles said straight up, hey, if it's late July or August and Coinbase hits me up and they need an extra two weeks, whatever it is, that could happen too, right? This is like we're building an ecosystem here, and there's a lot of players in this ecosystem, including the exchanges, and they need to be in on these big events. Like, hey, we're gonna have smart contracts now. It's a big deal, takes a little doing, but it's sounding like in the fall we're gonna be good to go, which I think is pretty huge. We've waited this long. It's been a long road and a lot of work by the people at IOHK and Emergo and the Cardano Foundation. I'm good to go to wait a little while longer, right? I think we all knew that it was going to look something like this. So next up on the stream, we had Grigory Rosu from Runtime Verification. If I remember right, if you don't know who Runtime Verification is, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe we were told in the past that Runtime Verification has done stuff like mission critical software for NASA, right? If that tells you how serious these guys are. So Grigory Rosu, who runs Runtime Verification, he invented K Framework, and he gave us a big rundown on the universality in programming languages that will be provided by K Framework and Cardano. And he said we should have some kind of proof of concept around 6 months from now. I would love to spend just like 30 minutes right now talking about K Framework and how awesome this all sounds, but we got to move. We don't got time. It's Friday night. It's Friday. Probably it's Friday when you listen to this, but it might be Friday night too. You're busy, like we talked about. Okay. Next up, Michael Peyton Jones and Manuel Chakravarty, the architects of Plutus, talked about a bunch of things. First off, the benefits of Cardano's modern approach in designing Plutus TX and Plutus Core, and how Plutus Core, basically being lambda calculus, allows for mathematical verification of software written in Plutus. If that all sounds like a bunch of nonsense to you, read the first chapter of the Haskell book that Charles is always recommending. I'm on page like 400 of that book. It has a lot of homework in it. It's pretty complicated. But if you just want to know what lambda calculus is, the first chapter, super interesting. Just get that book, read a piece of that first chapter, and you'll kind of understand what lambda calculus is. It's pretty interesting. Even if you're not super mathematical, I think that's probably one of the maybe that's one of the funner chapters in that book. The book is like 1,257 pages long. I'm only like 400 pages in, so what do I know? But so far, out of 400 pages, that was one of the easier to consume chapters. I'd say check that out. I think that book's called First Principles, a First Principles Approach to Haskell, but I believe the website might be thehaskellbook.com, something like that. Okay, so Plutus Core is lambda calculus, allows for mathematical verification of software written in Plutus. Then they covered, number 2, how UTXO and EUTXO and Cardano, that's unspent transaction output and extended unspent transaction output. Those are the ledger accounting systems in Bitcoin and Cardano respectively, right? Are much more battle proven than other ledger accounting systems like account balance type systems, as we see in Ethereum, which have had many problems. Number 3, they covered how non-fungible role-based tokens will be a thing. At Army of Spies here, we have a special interest in role granting non-fungible tokens. Number 4, they covered how they are now laying out a real development platform for builders instead of just throwing Plutus out there into the world and expecting everybody to figure it out. So we're going to have like a real platform for developers. They're going to help you out. If you're a developer, you want to get into Plutus, especially I'd say if you have some functional programming language background, especially Haskell background, they're going to help you out. Look forward to that. Number 4, Lars. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Brunius. Lars Brunius. It's a cool name. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Lars Brunius. I'm going to call him Brunius. Lars Brunius laid out how they're going to train a group of developers through the Plutus Pioneers program. That group will help test the Alonzo testnet after it launches, right? Remember our first topic, Alonzo testnet, which is going to be smart contract testnet, is going to launch something like a month from now. And they're going to need to test it out. One of the groups testing it out are going to be these people. They're going to choose, I forget how many people. They've already had like 1,300 applications. I have a feeling they're all, or a large chunk of them are going to be people with previous Haskell experience. Because Haskell, let's face it, not the easiest programming language based on my scant 400 pages of learning so far. Not the easiest thing ever, right? But I have a feeling everybody in there is going to be are going to be developers with previous development experience, and they're going to go through this program. I forget if it's supposed to be like 10 weeks long. But at a certain point, they're going to launch them into the testnet, have them building stuff, testing out Plutus before it gets to the rest of us. Number 5, this is extremely interesting. our man Lars Brunius has also cloned Uniswap in Plutus with a graphical user interface and completely automated price discovery and liquidity pools. He did this not because he wants to run Uniswap-esque type dApp in Plutus, but because he wanted a proof of concept. He said, whenever I teach something, I want to show my students that it actually works. So I just built out a Uniswap clone in Plutus so you know it would all work. This is super hilarious because there are probably people out there who are banking their whole future on building DeFi projects like that in Cardano. He did it for fun to prove that Plutus works. So anyways, there's that. There's already a Uniswap clone that's been built out as a demo product in Plutus. That's there. Number 6, they then brought people on the stream from 3 different Haskell development firms. They were like presented as like consultancy companies, like Haskell type consultants. It sounded like they were all involved in Haskell. They were all like consulting companies. I think you called them consultancy companies in Europe. They brought these people on, and they represented 3 different companies, and it turns out they're all going to be building things on the test net as a sort of red team test of Alonzo. So they're going to go in there, and you want to have different people testing stuff out like this than the people who developed it, because people who developed it are going to want their product to work, and so to test things out, you bring in people who don't want it to work, and you have them start building stuff and have them complain loudly about the things they don't like about it. That's what these people are going to do. It sounds like, I'm sure there are ideas about them partnering with Cardano on other things too, but they're going to do this. They all seem to be very capable in terms of Haskell development, and Plutus is basically just a DSL of Haskell. It's just like a domain-specific language that's a subset of Haskell. So it sounds like we have the perfect testing environment for Plutus. Next up, we had Tom Lindemann, who is the Chief Security Officer at Runtime Verification. I hope I'm not screwing up that title. I think I got it right. He then laid out how disastrous the last few years in Ethereum have been for smart contract security, but Cardano has a solution. IOHK and Runtime Verification are going to partner to certify smart contracts as to security. Runtime Verification will do security audits. This program will be called Alpha Frontier. So when people go to use smart contracts in Cardano, it's not going to be like Ethereum where you're just like, I hope there's not a giant exploit in this and you guys lose a ton of money like you did in the DAO. No, it's going to be certified by Runtime Verification, who appear to very much know what they're doing. It was at this point that Charles then laid out the details of the timeline for Alonzo that we've pretty much already discussed. Next up was Colin Edwards and Duncan Coots, who gave us an update on the stake pool world as we approach D-Day, or D equals 0. D in the Cardano stake pool world is the variable which represents decentralization. D equals 0 is full decentralization of block production. In the past, IOHK produced blocks in the Cardano ecosystem, and as soon as the SPOs were released into the wild, the stake pool operators, as soon as they were allowed to start developing blocks, IOHK produced fewer and fewer and fewer, and this D equals 0 D-Day date coming up will be the date at which IOHK produces 0 blocks. They're going to be out of the block production business. It's all going to be decentralized. They also brought on a stake pool operator named Sean McMurdo, who has made some Cardano improvement proposals. You'll hear these called SIPs pretty commonly. So his SIPs had to do with a nonlinear curved basis for A0, which represents stake pool operator pledge, to affect rewards more greatly. He's right now it's sort of a linear effect. He wants to make it curved, nonlinear, so that pledge amount affects rewards more greatly. Another sip from Sean was non-centralized rankings of pools and data lists. And number 3, an adjustment to minimum fees from fixed to variable. All of these things are to increase decentralization in Cardano stake pools and block production. We don't want Binance making all of our blocks for us. We don't want the Binance pool to make all the blocks, nor a Kraken pool, nor a Coinbase pool. We want it to be decentralized. One day we'll do a video and we'll talk about the difference between cloud-based pools and bare metal pools too, down the road, not today. Finally, we got an update on Catalyst from Dor Garbash. Dor runs Catalyst. Catalyst is now a monster. As we covered in a previous video, there are 17,000 people in IdeaScale, and the treasury in Catalyst is worth more than 400 million, almost $500 million. You heard me right. The Catalyst treasury is almost $500 million because the price of ADA has gone up. It's a monster. It's gigantic. This is an innovation pool that is going to produce innovation to the tune of $500 million. That's a lot of innovation. That's a lot of innovation. We're all going to be the recipients of that as people who are taking part in the Cardano ecosystem. Everything's looking awesome. So then we heard from a bunch of previous Catalyst winners. They gave updates on their progress since receiving funding from Catalyst. These are going to be really fun in the future. I mean, the projects are going to get bigger and bigger. Instead of requesting 25K, 50K, 60K, 100K, I mean, we're going to get to the point where a company requests $1 million and they're going to get $1 million, and then it's going to get even bigger. We got $500 million to give away. It's going to get big. Next up, there were a whole host of different people on the stream. You had Ben Gertzel from SingularityNet. You had somebody from Wolfram Alpha, somebody from the University of Wyoming. I will leave it up to you to go back and watch that if you've got some spare time and you are interested. We went through everything really quickly, but I did watch the whole stream. So if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them, and I will see you tomorrow.